This is Capablanca, one of the greatest chess players in history, with an 8-year streak of not losing a single game. He was known for his simple understanding of positions. Few people on Earth have ever achieved his positional dominance. And today, I'm going to show you the 5 rules of positional play that he followed to be so good. In the game, Capablanca has the white pieces and opens with d4. Black answers e6. You've probably heard you have to control the center in the opening, but what if I tell you that's a lie? In some openings like this one, black gives up the center and lets you take it with e4. But if you do that, black just plays d5 and fights for the center again, making everything complicated. So Capablanca simply develops, black goes for the Dutch defense, and Capablanca pushes c4 to gain space. Because when you have more space, it's easier to put your pieces on good squares. I am sure you know that. Black develops the knight, and here Capablanca wants to play e3 to free his light squared bishop. But if he does it right now, the dark squared bishop gets stuck. So first he pins the knight with bishop g5. Black unpins and white keeps developing. Black castles, and only now white plays e3, because the dark squared bishop already has a great future on the long diagonal, and black has to figure out how to get his own light squared bishop active. He obviously can't put the bishop on the normal diagonal because that would be terrible. So he plays b6, and later puts the bishop on a6 or b7. Both sides finish developing their bishops and white castles. Up until now, all white did was develop his pieces. Capablanca kept things simple. In this position, black plays queen e8. We can see he wants to bring the queen into play and also cause some trouble with this bishop. White has a lot of options here. He can attack the pawn with the knight, he can trade on f6, maybe bring the rook into the game. But Capablanca was following a very simple rule. Activate everything, starting with the least active pieces. If you look carefully, all the minor pieces are already active, but you'll see some of them doing nothing, so that means you have to activate them. Capablanca starts with the queen, playing queen e2, advancing it forward and connecting the rooks. Black plays knight e4, attacking the bishop, and Capablanca trades the bishop. Instead of capturing immediately, black first trades the knight, attacking the queen, so Capablanca has no time to take the rook. Therefore, white needs to recapture, and only then black takes back with the queen. Now it's time to introduce you to the second rule. Keep everything safe and do nothing. A lot of players in this position will think, how to attack? How to checkmate black's king? How can I be aggressive? But Capablanca knows that in chess, it's important not to blunder. In order to win, you don't have to attack, be aggressive, and calculate sacrifices. You just need to blunder less. But how do you achieve that? And that brings us back to the second rule. Keep everything safe and do nothing. That's why Capablanca plays a4, trying to trade the only weakness in his position. He's trying to push a5 and get rid of the isolated pawn. Here, black takes the knight with the bishop. When you're in low elo chess, knights are more dangerous because they can cause all kinds of tactics and threats. But when you stop blundering, you'll realize that bishops are more powerful in most positions because they have longer range. So Capablanca was very happy to trade. Black now has to stop the a5 push, which would trade white's only weakness, so he plays knight c6, stopping white's plan. Now Capablanca plays rook b1. At this point, he's just activating his least active piece, which is this rook. He's waiting for his opponent to blunder. Black goes rook e8, which brings us to the third rule. Spot your opponent's plan and stop it. Here, Capablanca realizes that his opponent wants to push e5, creating a lot of trouble with moves like e4, forking the bishop and queen. Capablanca plays queen h3. The idea is after black pushes the pawn, Capablanca can take the f5 pawn, which couldn't have been possible if the pawn stayed on e6. Here, black plays rook f6 to cause more kingside trouble. If you ask, what's my opponent's plan? You might realize black wants to go rook h6 and possibly push e5 or f4. So Capablanca shuts down the whole e5 and f4 thing with f4 himself. Black realizes there are no active plans on the king side because Capablanca shut everything down, so he switches his tension to the queen side with knight a5, attacking the c pawn, which could become weaker after this bishop moves. And here I'll give you 5 seconds to make a move. Capablanca plays queen f3, following the first rule, improving his least active piece, which is his queen. Again, he kept things simple and connected, so he won't blunder. His opponent plays d6, and Capablanca goes rook e1, continuing to activate his pieces and trying to push e4, opening up the position because bishops are better in open positions and knights are worse. Here, Black plays queen d7, so his queen doesn't line up with the rook in the future. However, Black allowed White to play e4 for free, so Capablanca plays it. Black takes, White takes, and now Black has to deal with the h7 threat because it is attacked twice and defended only once. In the game, Black chose to play g6, blocking the diagonal. Most players here will think how to attack once again with aggressive moves like h4 and rook e3, but Capablanca simply played g3 to keep everything safe and connected. Black played king f8, and Capablanca plays king g2 because that is the least active piece in the position right now. Black plays rook f7, and now it is time to bring you the 4th rule. Attack weak pawns, create weak pawns. Capablanca knew that attacking the king would require a lot of calculations and complexity, so Capablanca decided to stay simple and attack pawns since it takes no risk. So he played h4. The idea is to play h5 in the future. Black tried to gain some counterplay with d5, but that only helped White. The pawn on c4 was a weakness, but now Capablanca can just trade it off. Black takes, and Capablanca trades everything and heads to an endgame. Here, you might think it's just a draw because it's an endgame, but endgames are not so drawish. But if you're confused and don't know what to do, just follow rule number 4. Attack pawns. Therefore, Capablanca plays h5, and Black has to do something about it because it is attacked twice and defended only once. Black cannot really take it as the rook comes to h1 and both pawns will be weak and you'll end up with an f-passed pawn, and that is just bad for Black. In the game, Black just defends the pawn, and after a trade, Capablanca improves the rook to a better square. Black moves the king closer to the rook, and White enters the 7th rank and also attacks another pawn. Here, Black doesn't really have many options, so he plays rook c6, both defending his pawn but also attacking the c-pawn for White. Now, Capablanca activates the final rule. Create passed pawns, push passed pawns, and especially in endgames. Here, Capablanca plays g4 so he can get a passed pawn and get closer to promotion. If Black takes the c-pawn, the g-pawn will run, and Black will lose because passed pawns are too strong. So he plays knight c4, activating the knight, which should have been activated a long time ago, and Capablanca continues to push the pawns on the king side. Black checks, White moves, and Black plays knight f4, thinking White cannot take because after captures, White has no way to defend the c-pawn, but that is exactly what happened in the game because now all White wants to do is promote the passed pawn, so he brings the king closer to the pawn. Rook takes with check, and Capablanca plays king up, giving up another pawn because there is no way to defend the f-pawn. But Capablanca believed activating the king and pushing the passed pawn is more important than the 2 pawns, so he played g6. Black took the pawn and White moved the king with tempo. The rook has to move, and White plays king f6, threatening to checkmate the king on h8. Black is forced to play king g8, and White gives a check and just captures a pawn, threatening checkmate again. Black has to come back. Here, a lot of players will play moves like king f7 or g7 check, trying to win fast. But Capablanca doesn't like counterplay, and here he didn't like the idea that Black could try to promote with the f-pawn. So he solved the problem by taking the pawn. Black tries to attack the d-pawn and Capablanca moves the king up, threatening back rank again. Black checks the king and Capablanca forks the rook and the pawn. Black tried to trade the d-pawn for the g-pawn, so he played rook g4, attacking the pawn, but he missed that Capablanca can simply play g7 check. And after takes, white takes, black takes, white takes. Black has to try to stop this promotion, but unfortunately he has no way of doing so, and black is dead lost. In the game, black saw this, so he played king g8. White took a pawn, and after a couple of moves, black resigned. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe or just watch another video.